Hello, my name is Richard Collins. I'm the CEO of CSR-A Accreditation. And today we have the great privilege of doing a podcast with one of our partners, whatimpact. We're going to be looking at validation and measuring social impact and the importance of doing that for all of our stakeholders. I would like to take a moment to run round the individuals so that they can introduce themselves, and then I'll start to look at what the new standard for social responsibility is and how that has an impact with whatimpact. So first of all, Tia, I'd like to come to you. Please do introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Tia Sammalahti. I'm the founder and CEO of whatimpact.com. And yeah, I run a technology company in London. We're a social impact company with a big mission to kind of make this kind of social impact delivery much more efficient, transparent, and democratic. And we are running a platform called whatimpact.com. You can find more information there and obviously in this chat as well.
Thank you very much, Tia. Lukas, you're next on my screen. Please do introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Łukasz Konieczka, and I'm the Executive Director at Mosaic LGBT+ Young Persons Trust, where we support, educate, and inspire young persons who are lesbian, gay, bi, or trans, as well as those who are questioning their sexuality and gender, age 13 to 19. So we have a job cut out for ourselves, and it's a joyful experience with its own challenges.
Thank you very much. And finally, Kevin, over to you. I will come to Jennifer, but to Kevin first.
Hi, my name's Kevin. I'm the head of social value for a contractor called Novus Property Solutions. And in our line of work, we're always aiming to deliver maximum value to our customers and our communities, and social value is playing an even bigger part in that.
Thank you very much. And Jennifer, who's our operations manager, would you like to quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm the operations manager for CSR-Accreditation, helping organisations come through either training or accreditation and really pull together the evidence that validates their claims. I'm also a tutor at Cambridge University for the Sustainable Leadership Programme around real estate, and a big topic there is social value, especially in the built environment, and demonstrating that through reliable data is a key thing there.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to really start off with establishing, the framework that CSR-A have developed, and then I think that then gives us a platform that we can work forward. So it's really how to be a more responsible business and delivering a new standard for social responsibility. As we know, it's more important than ever to show that we are doing everything we can to be a responsible business. And we have established a new and a relevant holistic framework that delivers an up-to-date standard for social responsibility. This is a standard that is supported by the CSR 4 pillars of environment, workplace, community, and philanthropy. This provides a structure that will help an organisation plan and act responsibility. It's also a standard that states that social responsibility should be for every organisation. The C needs to be more inclusive. Corporate excludes a large number of stakeholders, specifically the third sector and public sectors, sole traders, and small SMEs. For this reason, we have defined the C to be more inclusive, to include companies, communities, charities, to allow for collaboration. We can then surround these meanings with a caring, cohesive approach common to the wider collective. So we've started by defining social responsibility as something that allows you to enrich the quality of lives for all by investing in social value as an essential part of an organisation's culture. This provides purpose and impact and will ensure a sustainable and profitable business. It will also help to build a better world for future generations by improving the environment and ensuring a cohesive community to live and work in. What we wanted to do there really is look at those pillars as being something that every organisation can recognise, that they can look at what they are doing today and they can measure, record, report and communicate that. And the inclusive C to make sure that social responsibility is for us all, not just for organisations, but us as human beings, as individuals. So it's the ground up as well as the top down. And most importantly, that we validate that activity. So the CSR Accreditation has an independent assessment panel that looks for evidence that validates a claims for social responsibility. what I would like to do is hand over to Tia, really, about creating a democratic space for social impact recording and reporting, and how what impact delivers the opportunity for organizations and charities to work together collaboratively to deliver measured and validated social impact.
Yeah, thank you. So What Impact has made this kind of a little bit different kind of market distribution. So we are not really talking about the third sector and private sector and public sector. We are really talking about those who have resources to give to those who are actually doing the beneficiary work. So on our platform, we have recipient organizations who are asking for resources to do their work here, like Mosaic. They are either charities or social enterprises who are actually listed in Companies House. They are profit-making companies, although they circulate some of their profits into the social value they're doing. And then on the other side, which Kevin here represents as a construction-related company, they are supporters, but the supporter could be even local council, it could be grant maker who have resources to give, but don't actually do the work on the ground. And this is quite important distinction when it comes to validation and reporting. So in our philosophy, supporter cannot just claim something that they have done or delivered or this impact happened if there is not the recipient, the beneficiary organization who actually did the work, who actually measured, who has the evidence of the impact and the actual activity. So therefore, on our platform, the dynamics have been built so that the supporter places an offer, which can be any resources, that is skills, volunteering, money, grants, fundraising, services, or products donated. It can be old products, used products, or then new products, any type. And then the charities and social enterprises on the other side can apply with their quite comprehensive profiles, where they make it clear what is their aim impact. So they are actually explaining in quite detail what their projects are like, what is the budget, who are they delivering, where in location-wise, which is increasingly more important to know where the impact is happening geographically, and so forth. And then they can apply to these resources, which then gives a kind of a level playing field for everybody to apply. So it's independent of whether you have a good application writer or whether you're big or small. If you have a profile, you are given the equal amount of information to this supporter, and they can evaluate you in a standardized format. And when the decision is made who is getting the resource, then the recipient organization can automatically fill an impact report with just pushing the button, which is semi-automated, and only complete then the measured impact details and not repeating the whole details of the project and whatnot, because that has already been displayed before. So it saves time. And this is then delivered to the supporter. Here, Mosaic would be delivering it to Novus, and Kevin, where Novus then delivers it forward, maybe in his organization, to communication department, so they can communicate with the employees and say that, hey, this is the impact we helped making. Maybe they deliver it to a local council procurement officer who is looking to get evidence from the impact made now, which is mandatory for every tender. Kevin might be distributing that to, somewhere was the other stakeholders, shareholders and stuff to, demonstrate that this was actually made. So this is kind of the dynamics, and we give the power to the beneficiary organization because they are the ones who measure. And what I would like to hear, maybe say first before I actually want to pass this to Lucas, is that measuring impact and what is the difference you're making, it has to come from the fact that the charity or social enterprise wants to monitor their own performance. They have their own impact goals, so they can only monitor how they are progressing. It's their KPIs, I would say. And that should be done so that they can improve their work. It's not just given to some funders. that's then secondary purpose of it. But if you don't know what your impact of your work is, you might be doing damage, negative impact. There might not be an impact at all. And that's why it's so important that the charity or social enterprise have these mechanisms in place. They don't have to be complicated, but anyway, that they can then go out and actually say that this is the demonstrated impact, and the funders who are not there to do the work can trust that. And, you know, because nobody wants to put resources into something that might do damage or doesn't have any impact at all. Everybody wants to change the world for better. So for Lucas, you know, how do you see this responsibility of measuring and reporting? How do you come about it?
At Mosaic, I think we always look at increasing the impact on LGBT plus young persons' lives, because I think I didn't say it at the beginning, but our vision is proud, strong, and cohesive LGBT plus community that's healthy, safe, and thriving. So it's an all-encompassing vision that's very much kind of casted into the future. But the idea of it is that, you know, we need to do all those things now in order for those outcomes to be achieved. And we utilize different elements of the kind of the very important element of our pedagogy is to offer the best possible service to the LGBT plus young persons. And we use kind of positive psychology methodology and social pedagogical methodology to do that. It's very much focused on the relationship we have with the young persons. And I think one of the kind of aspects of those conversations, I think when we came across Novus was that we didn't feel that the building is doing justice to young persons. And I think I remember, Kevin, when you first came in to the building, I was like, well, this is not what we want young persons to feel like when they come in, and, you know, it's drabby and it's badly capped and it's, you know, all those things. Well, we have had a roof falling in between. So, you know, like that kind of stuff. So it didn't send the right message because we're very much focused on the relationship with the young persons, and the young person has to feel a level of respect that they are being treated with the respect. And I think it's quite difficult to achieve if you're coming to a building that is shouting, this is not the space where you can be safe, this is not the space that is being respected. And I think we very often underestimate the interaction that spaces have with us psychologically. And, you know, and we know that from research, we know that it does have a huge impact. You know, the color of the space, how it is maintained, has got an impact on how people feel, and you either feel safe or unsafe. You feel threatened or you feel reassured. You feel like resources are in abundance or they are scarce. All those things will feed, not necessarily consciously, but subconsciously into your assessment of where you are at. And considering we're working with quite a distressed group of young persons, because, you know, if you look at LGBT plus population, especially young persons, you know, higher level of isolation and loneliness, higher level of common mental health problems. So all of those indicators are quite high. So for us to kind of offer a service in a space that doesn't reassure, doesn't calm, doesn't have those kind of messages, as it were, kind of sent across, can do, as you are saying, Tia, kind of damage, right? So for us, it's quite important. And, you know, I think we use elements of the kind of feeling of respect and joy, and, you know, we make sure that it feels warm and feels welcoming, and I think it's quite useful. And I think, Kevin, when we have had conversations about color scheme, which has been a journey, because we were like, which color should we choose? And our young persons really, really wanted it to be bold and rainbowy and glittery and God knows what else. But bless their hearts, you know, I'm sure they would have loved it. But on the other hand side, us as an organization, we have to be aware of the young persons, a diverse range of needs. And we serve quite a few young persons who are neurodiverse. And on that front, you know, if we have had rainbow and glitter and wheels and banners on the walls, that would have actually made this space not accessible to those young persons whose neurodiverse needs would have not allowed them to partake. So I think there's something really important about this being calm space for us, as much as majority of the young persons might have enjoyed, you know.
So this partnership now, what you found on the platform, so Kevin's company is supporting you with the renovation, you know, is actually heavily influencing on the impact that you can make within beneficiaries.
Exactly, yes, because it's not only allowing us to formulate this sense of safety and reassurance, but it also allowed us to address the needs of our diverse young persons. And I think it's really critical. Like you can't really deliver a service if you don't have the resources behind you to do it. And we would have not had those resources if Novus didn't step up and do the contributions that they have done.
So Kevin, you got applications for your donation, like other than Mosaic on our platform. What made you choose them? There were other candidates, different courses, different locations.
Yeah, well, I think for me, the great thing about What Impact, we had the challenge of actually identifying what causes we could support. So we're a national contractor. We work all over the country. We have lots of ways that we give back. Every employee can volunteer 8 hours, so they get an extra day's annual leave. We have a charity fund, so we try and invest that. And one way to try and be, you talked before about being kind of diplomatic and trying to kind of share that offer out to everyone. We'd come up with the idea that every few months we would give away £5,000 worth of support using our skills to try and make a difference to good causes, charities, community groups. So we thought that was a good thing to do, and would involve our employees in making a difference in the areas they're working. But actually the uptake wasn't as great as we thought, because we weren't reaching out to people, even though we were putting on our social media, we were going through our employees. So there was a little bit of a challenge there. So that's where our paths crossed from a What Impact point of view. And suddenly there was this platform that kind of could channel that message out to the wider country, all them organizations that are looking for support. And as a result, we got hundreds of applications just for that offer alone. And on there, we've got numerous offers, from volunteering, from cash donations through to that initiative. So it was great, hundreds of applications to work through. I got in touch with all the different organizations, the ones that kind of met the criteria, and we had a discussion. It's employee led. So I took back to the employee committee a shortlist, and it was the employee committee off the back of the applications that decided out of that kind of shortlist, which project they felt Novus could have the biggest impact on. And again, I liked that because it was employee led. They were deciding what they felt, and that's how our paths crossed with Mosaic. Straight away we could see there was a need there. As Łukasz highlighted to begin with, it was about a kind of a space that was tired and wasn't inspiring the young people that use that. But then what kind of gave even more urgency, and that kind of filtered through to the employee judging panel, really, was there was a leak in the roof, and the roof's collapsed, and suddenly they were really in an emergency situation. So bad luck, I would say, but perhaps a bit of good luck, because it certainly made that application show, actually, this is time sensitive. We really need to kind of help here, because the young people rely on this community centre for their support. As a result, we then met, and we talked through how we could have that impact. And it was, I know Łukasz knew, there was 5,000 worth of support, but he wasn't quite sure what that looked like and what it could do. Was it £5,000 cash? Was it volunteering? Was it? So we just had that discussion, how could we have the biggest impact as a business? We've got, operatives, decorators, plumbers, joiners, we've got all our supply chain. What can we do within that? Them kind of budget constraints, that's our kind of funding we can access. And we made a plan of action, and the end result was an improved space for all the people that use that centre, which we're very proud of.
I think you're not alone in the take up there. A lot of companies, they set up a volunteer day policy, and a couple of people are really interested. But I think the statistics are somewhere like 15 to 20% of people actually take their day. And the reasons for that are numerous. But one is, the organization, who, where, what, all the logistics that go around it. So a platform like What Impact that can really ease that process for you, or for any company, I think is a real benefit, and anything that we can do to increase that is definitely a plus. Like Tia said, a lot of people want to do good, but as soon as it gets a little bit difficult to actually do it, it falls at the first hurdle. So that's why What Impact is so good. It gives that choice and detail of what you can get involved in.
Yeah, and I think like in this case, it's packaging the skills. If you one person, you have 1,000 employees and one gives here, and try to find random opportunities, it is very tasky, and you cannot really measure any impact on that because everybody volunteers in different places, couple of hours. You cannot kind of start building your own kind of a story of the impact because you don't know what it was. So I think it's important that, like in Kevin's case, you have different talents there, given their skills, you can bundle up kind of projects and you can test run them on the platform. If you don't get applicants, nobody wants it. That's a good, that's a good sign. And then if you have a lot of applicants, there is a demand. So it's a demand and kind of an offerings kind of a thing. And we have obviously quite extensive experience working with companies, and some, unfortunately, companies, when they have their volunteering programs, they put really rigid barriers to it, and they say that, oh, our employee can do only this, and there has to be this form to be filled, and it becomes so difficult for charities to actually work with these organizations that they don't want to work because it takes more from the charity to have the volunteer than actually it delivers. And also then, I think these kind of community houses, what we're talking about here, are a great example that they are sometimes very much wanted targets, especially these generic community houses. Yeah. But then it's like some, let's say, lawyers might want to come and paint the wall. Obviously, they're not professionals. They should maybe give legal services or something. But I was just having a meeting with the council, which I don't name here, but they said that there's a community house very central in the council, and it's been painted 5 times within 8 years because it's been done exactly this kind of non-skilled random volunteering by companies who want to have a team day out, and the community house didn't dare to tell them that it doesn't need painting. And of course, this is a funny story, kind of, but then again, it's not. So if these people were actually aware that it wasn't actually needed, appreciated, or anything, they wouldn't have done it, but nobody told them, because sometimes charities feel also that they have to take what is given because they don't want to upset anybody. Have you, Lucas, experienced ever this kind of that you've been offered something that you actually didn't want or didn't want to do as an organization?
Almost on a daily basis. Yeah, we have had a very strange communication with some organizations. Well, I think what you said, Tia, is actually true. I think people don't realize that actually it takes time to kind of manage projects and people want to come and volunteer. And I remember I received this email from someone who was working for a big organization. It's like, oh, I've got 3 days a year to volunteer. I already committed to 1, so I've got 2 left. Where can you use me? And I can't really do much with your 2 days. I think it's quite difficult. And I think on one hand side, I think for us it's even more difficult because we sometimes get those proposals through a side entrance, if you will, because we are an LGBT plus organization. So sometimes within kind of bigger corporates, there'll be like LGBT plus steering group or working group or whatever. So sometimes those groups will be like, let's find something LGBT to do. So they can reach out to those charities, but there's not much kind of thought or process that goes into it necessarily, because they don't necessarily sit in CSR, so they kind of are their own kind of group within the big organization, and it's also cross-departmental. So they're like, what can we do? And then I think a lot of the times such conversations kind of run aground because we also are a very small organization, so we don't have a corporate engagement professionals. Like bigger organizations would have whole departments. Their whole responsibility is just to maintain relationships with corporates. And I think I was very honest with Kevin. Like, we don't have that. Like it's just we have only 2 members of staff. Our communication will be patchy at the best of times, because the young persons always will come first, because we have responsibilities in terms of safeguarding and so on and so forth. So I think that kind of managing those relationships is quite difficult. And I think if there is that one learning that I would like people to take away, is that we love your input and would love your input, but this needs to be kind of structured and thought out, because like we really don't have capacity to just accommodate as willing as you might be just a couple of days. And to some extent, we kind of started looking into this, right? Because we kind of started looking at our programming, and one thing that became really clear to us as an organization is that you know, our mission is to serve LGBT plus young persons, so the young community. So we kind of looked at, okay, so what needs to happen and how can we engage those corporates in order to have those communications and engagement with LGBT plus community in said corporates. And we started looking at things like work experiences, for instance, for our young persons, so that, you know, if you look at you know, if you have 1 or 2 days a week to volunteer, or maybe a week, oh my God, that will be good. But if you have 1 or 2 days to volunteer, you can potentially utilize those days to support the young person. You know, one can be the training day, and then another day will be the impact on your productivity, obviously, at work, right? So if you think about it. So we kind of looked at this, but then we kind of ran aground really quickly, because a lot of corporates will be like, no, we can't have work experience because our structures are such and such and such, and, you know, work experiences come from this school or this neighborhood, or they have already some agreements. So it's very difficult, because, you know, for us, it has to benefit the young persons. We are not going to have you coming in and painting the same wall 50 million times just because it's entertaining to you. Especially not now, since we have it done very professionally. But nobody touches the walls is the rule. So yes, I get palpitations when people put away, because we have chairs that they take out and put away. So that they stand clear from the walls. Like Hyacinth Bouquet in Keeping Up Appearances, just mind the wallpaper. So I think that's quite, it's, well, of course, is that who I'm channeling? So I think it is for us, it is quite important that it's impactful on young persons' lives. And in this case, it has been amazingly so.
I think the observations that I'm getting, and it's great because, you know, this is the underlying theme was obviously the power of impact, but also how what Impact have done is created a platform that kind of delivers above and beyond just that core relationship. You know, Tia talked about kind of this idea of misplaced good intentions, which we see all the time with CSR-A, and of course people want to help, they want to do the right thing. I kind of like the idea that, you know, you can have a situation where Novus can put up something that they have. Therefore, you know, it's up then to other organizations to say, well, this is something we need. So you're already making that gap, that you know, bridging that gap between the public and private, perhaps, and third sectors in terms of requirements. But more importantly, and something that Lucas said earlier, you know, and I've written down impact in 3 or 4 different areas. It's multifaceted. So the impact isn't just, I mean, the thing about creating safe spaces for people to have conversations, you know, there's a lot of leadership in that. There's a lot of really good examples to kind of look at the psychology of that. You know, just that alone, being able to invite people into a space where they are comfortable and able to have a conversation in which you can, that Mosaic can then provide the support and help. So impact number 1. Impact number 2 is the help that you're then giving to the LGBT community, and allowing and reducing that sense of isolationism, maybe helping with employability or engagement or whatever it might be. So how that ripples out into the community and has a bigger impact beyond and into community, and how that impact then feeds back to the organization, to the benefactor. So that, you know, and the fact that you have an employee panel that kind of sat and made decisions, so you're creating that includability within the organization, is so important. So for Novus to be able to say, you know, this is creating value and purpose for the staff, because we've got those evidenced impacts. And the final thing I just wanted to say, just as a kind of an observational point of view, because I think it's so important, is that, you know, I like the idea of kind of placing that offer, but an organization coming forward based on what the impact was going to be to make them applicable for that offer. So it's led by the impact, and it's truly unique. And I think it's a really lovely thing to see how it's had these multiple faceted impacts that you know, we can now talk about and to address and identify and to use as an example for others.
Can I just add that at CSR-A we do training and also consulting when we do the accreditations, and in both those arenas, when we're talking about community involvement in philanthropy, we really focus on 3 L's, and that the first one is long term, and this plays a little bit to what Łukasz said there about 2 days. What can you do with 2 days? But we, you know, the charity of the year that used to happen, we say that that's fading now. That, you know, what's the point of having charity of the year? You might be in the middle of a project. Oh, well, the year's gone and now you've got to stop. So we encourage long-term. That's the first L. We encourage charities and corporates to have long-term relationships. We know of a construction company that has helped a charity for 17 years. You know, the trust, the relationships that they've got, and the impact is so much more powerful because they work together and they know each other. The second L is large. You know, don't be afraid to work on large projects, because you're going to work long term. You've got that time to work on larger projects that are inevitably going to have better and greater impact. And the third one is thinking about what's the legacy that you're going to leave behind. So I think, you know, how we interact between communities, charities and corporates is changing. It's becoming a lot more sophisticated, and both parties have a lot to offer each other.
I would have a question for Kevin. Obviously you are kind of professional social value manager, so you kind of understand about impact more than maybe average person who works in a company and kind of leads these kind of projects, which might not be always kind of CSR director or such, especially in SMEs. But has it been a surprise to you when you've been looking at the profiles on our platform, what the actual impact is, and then kind of what the title of the organization kind of field is, what they operate in? And here, like I'm saying that we're talking about LGBT, does everybody understand that if you support LGBT community house, what the impact could be, you know, and or children's art club, where does it actually lead in terms of impact? Have you kind of had some kind of epiphany using our platform, or in general working with charities?
No, I think for me the challenge is that there's so many different community groups, charities, good causes, and every one of them is unique. So you can't almost have a template that you follow. You can't kind of replicate it, and that's a challenge really. So you've got to take every kind of you know, someone requesting some support, or you know, if you're putting an offer out there, you've got to take it on a case-by-case basis because they are so different. I'm sure if there was another charity that was similar to Mosaic in another part of the country, they'd probably have totally different needs in terms of support. They might have similar objectives they're trying to achieve by supporting young people, but it might be that their community centres is in really great shape, and actually what they need is help kind of mentoring their young people, you know, inspiring role models. So for me, that's why platforms like What Impact are so important, because it kind of allows the good cause, the charity, to put forward how the impact can happen. You know, I don't have to assume it. You know, I don't have to understand the organization, do the research, go out and find them. They're coming to me and saying, here's how we feel you can have an impact. We can see what you're saying you can offer. We feel that fits, and then we can start a conversation and take it from there. And it is on a case by case. We support hundreds of projects every year across the country, from creating wildflower meadows through to refurbished community centres, through to mentoring young people in education. So for me, the more we can open up them channels and join them kind of opportunities together, that's the challenge for me. And like I say, What Impact is now giving us that extra virtual layer to get out there across the whole country and see if we can kind of join them resources, join them opportunities, which is great.
Yeah, that's great to hear. We are. I just need to move the agenda on because we are kind of. We're already kind of 30 minutes in, so it's gone so quickly and it's been so valuable. And I think Tia, you were kind of, you know, it's that impact engagement with all audiences. So it's also about you know, how Kevin's communicating to the internal audience, to his suppliers, to his customers, and how Łukasz is also communicating to, you know, within his community, within the organization that he works for, and also providing that to the outer to the community as well. So I mean, both of you really quickly, you know, are you, you know, you're doing this amazing work together. How is that being communicated, you know, across both of your organizations?
Well, Kevin has done amazing work in this, because actually brought in a filming crew and filmed one of our sessions, kind of post reparations, and I think it worked really well. We're very surprised of how it looked, and it just presented us look so professional and so great. That was so very good. So it was very good company, and I think it allows us to do one more thing. So although it might felt like it's just showcasing the work that the Novus has done, but actually it's done a different work for us. Like, it raises awareness of us as an organization. So it's a two-edged sword. I think it works really, really well, and it tells a story which we're always looking to tell, I think is the phrase that I'm looking for on the back of my mind. What would you think, Kevin?
Yeah, and just that again about the impact for me, the more people we can share the impact with, we might inspire them to get involved. So for me, I've got an internal audience. So I'm saying to every Novus employee, all 1,000 of them, you can make a difference. Watch this video if it sparks your imagination, if you want to get involved. Also, if there's other organizations that get in touch, what can you do? Again, watch this video case study. This is how we helped that organization. How can we help you? So I think having the impact, and for me, it's a range, isn't it? For me, videos work well. Updates on websites, highlighting photos before and afters work well. The what impact side, where we're kind of getting that impact directly from the benefactor to intertwine into all of that communication, and that plays a really big part in sharing what's been done. And for me, I do then get people getting in touch saying, well, can I help? Can we do it? And you've almost got a bit of momentum then, and it never stops really, because we've always got new employees, we've always got new clients, we've always got new communities that we're mobilizing in. So it's kind of a full circle really. Probably one of the things that frustrates me the most in my role is when you've got that opportunity, you've got the resource, and you don't quite join the dots, and then you run out of time because you've got to move to another community. So for me, that's kind of the worst case scenario, but it can happen if you don't, kind of form them partnerships and identify where you can have the impact. So again, this is one example where that was made, and the what impact did help kind of make that a lot smoother process.
Perfect. I mean, we have a saying at CSR-A that, social responsibility delivers great storytelling, but you've got to show the good story doing. And I think this is a great example of some great storytelling, especially with the videoing and sharing that, and the way that can be shared within the organization, and create that engagement and that wider awareness around issues as well that people can support. Thank you very much. Tia, would you like to make some closing remarks before we wrap up this podcast, please?
Well, quickly, you said that there were 3 impacts, but like what Kevin said and Lucas here, that the 4th impact of these kind of collaborations where both of them communicate properly, and even on our platform, which is a transparent platform, anybody can see who is partnering with whom and what was the impact, is the reputation building for charity. Because word of mouth is the most powerful reason why anybody supports charities, and that's a statistical fact. So if you can spread the word as a company, you will help the charity already. So that's the thing. Then about kind of the impact. Like I said, that it comes from the source, and only Lucas can know what's happening behind those beautiful walls. And Lucas can use the tool easily, usable reporting tool, which can be filled in with whatever data you have. Like Lucas mentioned, it can be interviews with your beneficiaries. It might be some statistical averages about how the color of the walls affect on the mood of the person. So kind of whatever kind of impact or difference you want to record, whether it's based on the contribution or whether it's indirect or direct, some kind of a change that you generated with your work and some evidence to it, it's easy to use. Charities have so much tasks to do. They are actually doing the beneficiary work, so they are so busy, and therefore this kind of reporting shouldn't take too much. And I just want to say to companies that companies cannot expect too much of the reporting for very small donation. It has to be somehow in correlation. It has to be kind of reasonable, I would say, comparison what you actually gave and how you helped. And this is what we have kept in mind on the platform. So we deliver 2 different kinds of shorter and longer version. And then if the donation is something like Kevin's company now, Novus has been giving, Lucas can fill the longer one, but if it's smaller, then he always fills the shorter one because he has better things to do, taking care of those young thriving people who hopefully, thrive in their life in the future.
Yeah, I quite agree. And we often say as well that it's not so much what a business can do to support a charity, but how a charity can support a business, because, a charity can help a business show what good looks like. It can help a business engage and help a business with its impact reporting. So the relationship works both ways. It shouldn't be a one-sided thing. I think it's both contribute to that wonderful output and that wonderful impact. Thank you very much, everyone. That's been really, really valuable. I just wanted, Tia, for you to say, how do we get in touch? Could you just say your web address again? And
yeah, so whatimpact.com, and we have intercom there. We have you can book a call, demo call. You can contact us directly. We have white papers to download and blog post, different podcasts for those who don't want to kind of get in touch, but maybe wants to learn more about efficient and transparent social value delivery. Yeah, but yeah, there all the contact details are found there.
And Lucas, would you like to give your contact details so people could find out a little bit about more what you're doing as well, please?
Sure, we're on social media at the Mosaic Trust, and our website address is www.mosaictrust.org.uk. We can find out all about our services that we deliver, which are a multitude of joys. And if you do have any LGBT plus young persons in your households, do get in touch anyway, because we work with young persons from London and beyond.
Thank you. And Kevin, it would be unfair not for you to have a plug as well. I mean, I guess there might be some space on your website or an area where you're talking about things. Can people have a look at what you're doing and engage with you as well?
Yeah, and just that, www.novussolutions.co.uk, and there is a section that is our community section, and on there you can see some of the examples of what we've done across the country, and also nominate a project if you want some support, and it'll come straight to me in the background, and I'll start exploring if we can help in any way.
Thank you very much.
Whatimpact.com, you can look at Novus's profile and you can see what are the offers actively being presented. And then, if you're a charity social enterprise, you can also start applying.
Absolutely brilliant, of course, yes, absolutely right. And from our point of view, it's CSR-A, thank you very much. We operate with the idea of education, accreditation, communication. So we do run our CSR-A training. We run our accreditation program, which helps an organization independently get recognized for its work within social responsibility, and communication, which is good old social impact reporting to demonstrate what we're doing and the impact it's having. And you can find us on www.csr-accreditation.co.uk. Once again, thank you very much. That's been a really interesting conversation, and a real eye-opener for me as well, because it's so nice to reveal all those additional impacts rather than the obvious impacts, and the fact that this is an ongoing and long-term program and project. So thank you once again, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.